Welcome back to another episode of Let's Take a Look at what the government has said and what they really mean on an objective assessment. If you're new here, I'm Daniel Shensmith, a barrister. Please do subscribe and like the video. If you like the video, of course. Let's get into it. So what they've said now is to do with police officers, obviously designed to encourage the general public to feel safe. Called Safer Streets, they say, and I quote, "Everyone has the right to feel safe in their local area." I agree with that. Everyone does have the right to feel safe in their local area. But sadly, not everyone does feel safe in their local area. In fact, a lot of people do not feel safe in their local area for lots and lots of reasons that are in the news lately. Let's carry on. Our plan for change will put 13,000 dedicated neighbourhood police officers on our streets with a named contactable officer in every community. Let's break that down. The non-controversial bit first. A named contactable officer in every community. Maybe so. I'm not disputing that. I'm not even going to look into that. That's probably true. Let's look at the first bit because I don't fully agree with that. Our plan for change. So this is a new program, a new plan of sorts called Safer Streets. Will put 13,000 dedicated neighbourhood police officers on the streets. Now, objectively, to me, that suggests that they are new officers. Let me know in the comments below, put new or not new, whatever you like, to shorthand, whether you interpret that to mean new 13,000 officers, police officers on the street. Because when we look at, there's two places to look. First of all, there's this page here, Safer Streets, milestone, putting police back on the beat, the starting point, etc., 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 long-term mission. The bit we are concerned with is this bit here. Now, I will highlight it so you can see it clearly. They say, that is why we will deliver the neighbourhood policing guarantee and put 13,000 additional police officers, PCSOs and special constables into neighbourhood policing roles. But there's a discrepancy. It says here, additional police officers, which I'll come back to in a minute, PCSOs and special constables. So then you might think, well, if you read deeply into this article, you might then compare. Is it 13,000 police officers or a combination of 13,000 police officers, PCSOs and special constables? Because while special constables have full police powers to arrest and so on, they are part-time. They are not dedicated. I was a special once, many, many years ago. I did about 3 years. You have full police powers, but it is nothing like real police, full-time police. And PCSOs do not have a power of arrest. So there's already a discrepancy there. There's an ambiguity. Is it 13,000 in combination or 13,000 new officers and PCSOs and specials? Because when we go back to the post wording here, it says they will put 13,000 dedicated neighbourhood police officers on the streets. But when we look at the document in a bit more detail, we look at this bit here. So again, buried in the documents you may not always look at, this says we should assume that the 13,000 is split as follows. 3,000 police constables redeployed to neighbouring teams. So they're not new officers. They're being diverted from somewhere else. So 3,000 police officers that were somewhere else are now going to be redeployed to be part of this dedicated neighbourhood team. And neighbourhood teams, by the way, are not a new thing. They've been around for many years now. Neighbourhood policing teams have been around for a long time. So 3,000 police officers out of the 13,000 are not new. They're being redeployed from elsewhere. Furthermore, 3,000 additional police constables recruited. So they're going to take on 3,000 additional police officers, even though I've heard that funding is being cut in many areas, but maybe I'll look at that in a bit more detail later. And then 4,000 additional PCSOs. So with all respect to them, they are not police officers, they are support officers. And 3,000 additional specials, which are they're only paid expenses, and those are minimal at best. And so 3,000 additional specials. So actually, out of the 13,000 that you might have inferred is new police officers, in fact, only 3,000 are additional recruits. 3,000 then are redeployed from elsewhere, 4,000 are PCSOs, and 3,000 are specials. So in fact, coming back to the post, it might be a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, this plan. The plan's probably a good plan, but it is a little bit misleading. Let me know what you think in the comments, because it says that they will put 13,000 dedicated neighbourhood police officers on the streets. It suggests to me, or to the average reader perhaps, at least somebody could infer that that is 13,000 new officers, new police officers recruited and put on these police teams on the streets, and that is not entirely true. And finally, another post that might on the surface seem like a good thing, but then when you look behind the detail actually seems a little bit pointless, when Home Secretary Ed Cooper says that they are now announcing new measures, new offences to tackle the artificial creation of images that people should not have. She says as technology rapidly advances, they are strengthening the response to tackle online predators, and new offences targeting the use of AI for these image creation and so on, where people have images that they shouldn't have. Obviously, I'm jumping through hoops here for the YouTube algorithm. However, some of you might think that's a little bit pointless when the offences that we already have can send people to prison, but so often don't. For example, this headline, former PC spared jail over having over 1,000 images that he shouldn't have. And this one, a Guruk man found with 1,000 images that he shouldn't have, spared prison. This one, albeit from some time ago, over 1,000 images that he shouldn't have, spared jail. Another one, a teenager with more than 1,500 images that he shouldn't have, also avoids jail. This one, over 1,000 images that he shouldn't have, also avoids jail. So this has to beg the question, why do these people avoid jail when they are serious offences? We have the offences in place, we have the sentences in place. It just raises a serious question. Why do they avoid jail? Now, of course, I've been through a number of videos where I talk about the sentencing guidelines. Judges are following those guidelines and the aggravating, mitigating circumstances, etc. They arrive at a conclusion, and they are following the rules and the guidelines that are set out. So if anything, I think it's the guidelines that we need to challenge, or that need to be changed if people actually want these people sent to prison. So it's all very well having new offences that they can then prosecute. It's a little bit like the new offence against a shop worker. We already have offences that would deal with that, regardless they're a shop worker or not. Being a shop worker does place them in a bit of a more vulnerable position, but ordinary assaults do have aggravating circumstances where it might be a person who is targeted or vulnerable or whatever, which could arguably, on anyone's argument, any barrister's argument, could include someone working in a shop, that they are more vulnerable because they're working in the shop, they are there, they can't just leave like anybody else could. These offences are already there to be prosecuted. We don't need more offences. We need offences that are properly prosecuted and attract appropriate sentences. And so whilst I agree that more police on the streets is a good idea, more offences to prosecute things is a good idea, we do actually need to see the appropriate punishments for them as well. And that's not necessarily the judge's fault, because they do follow the guidelines. I think the guidelines need to be tougher or more imaginative, not necessarily just raw prison time, but perhaps other more creative measures to actually resolve the problem. Maybe take a leaf out of other countries' books where they've got rehabilitative community structures rather than just banging them into prison, or rather than just sending them on courses and back into the community. But that is always a philosophical discussion. How do we successfully rehabilitate these people? Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Subscribe to the video, ring the notification bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.